Hi, this is my third video in a series on using OneNote for taking notes for students. And in this video, I'm going to assume you already know how to use OneNote. You're able to use a stylus and that you also know how to insert images and documents from elsewhere. So that's the fundamental starting point that we have with this video. What I want to do today is show you how that you can use OneNote in a really new way and how you can take notes in a way that you can't possibly take notes while using a piece of paper. And I think this has huge benefits for the learning that we can actually have as students, but also the impact that learning will have on us in a long-term way. So let's have a look at it. So here we are, and we have a blank OneNote page. And what I want to do now is show you how to use three really important gestures. The first is the zoom in gesture, which is the expanding pinch. The second is the zoom out gesture, which is the compressing pinch. And the third is the pan gesture, where I can grab the page and I can move it around with just a single finger. Now that's really important because the note taking that I want to teach you how to do uses all of these gestures to go through the levels. So let's zoom all the way out onto this OneNote, and you can see here I've got a diagram already drawn. And you can see in this diagram I've got a satellite and I've also got the world. And this represents the big picture. This is where we can actually see everything that's going on within the system. But if I zoom in now, I can get a bit more detail. So here I am looking at Australia, and I can see there's a bit of detail there within the image. And I can zoom in a little bit further, and now I can see the trees that are on that Queensland area. And now I can zoom in even a bit further still, and I can see the house and the family sitting amongst the trees. And it's this zooming gesture that we're going to use in order to be able to better take notes in a way that we can pull meaning together as we assemble those notes. So all we're going to be able to be using is those gestures, and then to actually use the pan gesture to be able to move things around as we go. So let's go and start looking at how we're going to take notes using this methodology. So the first thing we're going to do is make a new page. And now let's go through the process that I would use in order to take notes using this method. Obviously, when we first start, we're at the 100% view. So I'm going to zoom out now as far as I go, and I've stopped being able to zoom out there because OneNote detects that there's a lot of blank canvas. What I do now is I just draw a little mark in the bottom right hand corner, and now when I use the gesture, I can zoom out again. I just repeat this process and I do it 3 times until I end up with an exceedingly large canvas. Then I delete 2 of the marks, so I've only got the mark in the far right corner. And then for me, I just mark with a circle the middle of the canvas. And this is where I start my note taking, and I zoom into that point there, and then I will write the title of what it is that we're doing, and usually the presenter as well, and who that's going to be. Then when I'm taking the notes, you can always zoom in and out, and you've got that reference point, you've got that center point. And I typically build my notes just by working around the page. And so I start off with a heading over there for the first topic, and then I'll come around here and I'll have a second topic, and then I'll have a third topic. And then what I do is I zoom in to be able to take the detailed notes at that section. Now that I've made a place marker, I can put a heading. So this might be topic 1. And then what I do is I get rid of that outside line. I can give it a title mark, and then also I tend to highlight these as markers for myself so I know where the topic headings are, and we can actually see what's going on there. Then what I do is I take the notes immediately under that, and I can take notes and draw pictures and all those sorts of things. Then I use the zoom out tool to move around, and then I might have the next topic of the learning sequence over here, and again I would do the similar sort of thing. And so I would put in here, this is topic 2, and I might delete that, underline it, and then I might highlight that in yellow if I wanted to, and then I end up with that. And again, the notes for that specific idea would immediately come underneath. If I zoom out now, you can start to see the organisation that we're getting by taking notes in this way. You can see I've got the title in the middle. I can see the topics and the way they relate, but I can't see the details of those topics. I've got to zoom in and look at each of those subtopics and actually understand what's going on there. Also, just using the Cornell method, over the left-hand side, any sort of main information that I need to along the way in the Q column, I still write over there, due dates, definitions, important information. And then at the end of the session, I would still have a summary coming down the bottom. And you can see what we're doing using this is we're using a huge amount of paper in a digital sense. So you can imagine if I tried to print this out, it'd be quite large. What I thought I'd do though, after showing you the schematics of it all, let me actually show you the lecture notes from a lecture that I went to. So this is me actually using this method. You can see, and I'm just going to sort of draw over the top of this, so I'll use a green highlighter. You can see my Q column over in the left here, and I've got some typed bits of information. You can also see I put a to-do list at the bottom, and then I actually have a typed summary of the entire lecture as well. But you can see the bulk of the space has been taken up by taking the notes. And if I zoom into my center, you can see this was on 21st Century Learning Design, 21 CLD. This was an overview, and it had Dimension 1 and Dimension 2, and it was a lady called Pip Cleaves that was giving the presentation. And you can see around the outside here, we've got learning activities, you've got each of the keys there, and you can see how I'm mashing up content that I've captured digitally and then annotations as well. I've used highlighting for things that I need to do. You can see that I had homework to do, so the homework is flagged over there, and I've forgotten to highlight it here, but there's another homework task over here. And all of that then gets summarized down the bottom, and you can see at the end of it I've got to do 2 bits of homework, which I did do. I had to find an article, which I found, and then I've got a summary of everything on that page. And even as part of the summary, I use some image capturing to make life easier for myself. Hopefully you can see that this is a very robust note-taking method, because what we've got is the ability to use the Cornell note-taking method in a modified way, but with a huge and massive canvas that we can mash up digital artifacts with small-scale annotations, large-scale annotations. And you can see here, this isn't the neatest piece of note-taking in the world, but then it's only designed for my personal learning. I never, when I took this, thought I'd be showing the world the way that I took notes in this lecture. So there you go. That's how you can use OneNote to take notes in a really different way than being able to take notes on paper. I really hope that you go out and give this a go, because I really think it could change the way that you learn.